Welcome to the Recruitment Hackers Podcast, a show about innovations, technology, and leaders in the recruitment industry. Brought to you by TalkPush, the leading recruitment automation platform.
Hello, and welcome back to the Recruitment Hackers Podcast. I'm your host, Max Armbruster. And today on the show, I've got Ashleigh Anderson, who is a VP of Talent Acquisition, of Global Talent Acquisition for Credit Karma. Ashleigh, welcome to the show.
So happy to be here.
Thank you. Thanks, Ashleigh. And well, to get started, perhaps could you give us a quick intro to Credit Karma?
Absolutely. So Credit Karma is actually building a full-scale financial platform to help our more than 110 million members improve their credit, pay off debt, plan for the future. We really want to democratize financial information. So everyday terms, that means we're going to help you find a credit card when your credit score goes up that has a better interest rate, help you refinance your mortgage, and even help you find better car insurance. So, save thousands of dollars a year, really.
Oh, nice. Nice. And this is focused on North America, US, and Canada.
Correct. We also have an office in London, so we do have a product in the UK.
Okay. So before we jump into the talent acquisition space, can you give us your industry perspective on how debt is evolving in America? Because I believe everybody got checks in the mail and that they don't need to borrow anymore.
I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I know that, a large percentage of Americans still don't even have more than $400 in savings for an emergency, which is quite a scary fact. And that's why we are here really to help champion financial progress for everybody.
Yeah. Of course, it's a big cultural thing, credit, and it does change from place to place. I'm calling in from Hong Kong, China, where apparently there's a strong savings culture here. Everybody's got a few years of income tucked under their mattress somewhere. So it's, different cultures, but great. So Credit Karma, you've been there for 3 years now, and what a busy time. Maybe we'll talk about what's happened over the last year and a half with the changes that your team has been through. We talked a little bit before the show on the fact that you had to move some of your team internally while recruitment was on hold. So that's where we're going. But before we go there, I'd love, Ashleigh, for you to tell our audience a little bit about your background. I think you've been in recruitment for a long time, and particularly in tech recruitment for a long time. How did you end up, early days, how did you end up in talent acquisition?
Well, so as we know, nobody goes to college to be a recruiter. There's no degree in recruiting. I actually applied for my first job at Microsoft in 1998 for a marketing job. And they called me, had that first interview. They're like, hey, we want to fly you to Seattle. I'm like, okay, great. That's awesome. And the recruiter was like, hey, this is for a recruiting job. And at that moment, I had no idea that there was actually a career in recruiting. I thought hiring was done by hiring managers. So I went out, had the interview, loved everything that I heard. And my first job was on the college recruiting team at Microsoft. And it was an incredible place to start. So tech recruiting kind of became what I loved, and I stayed in that. After Microsoft, I went to a .com during the .bomb boom. Of course, that blew up for most of us. After that, I went to a Microsoft partner company, then started my own business, then went back to Microsoft on the Xbox team. I ended up working in games for 10 years, was early at Zynga, helped grow Zynga from 300 people to 4,000 people in about 4 years. That was an incredible experience. And then really decided to get into mission-driven work, and went to a company called the Climate Corporation as head of recruiting, and worked there for 4 years, and then got the call for the role at Credit Karma. My first interview was with Ken, our founder, and that was what sold me.
That's a lot to unfold. I think the fact that Microsoft interviewed you coming out of college and asking you to go into recruitment I think recruitment is a great place to learn for people who are entering their career, but you would think that Microsoft would be more, geared towards hiring experienced recruiters rather than people straight out of college. Going back to those days, what do you think of the program back then? And could the program that you were part of back then still exist today, or was it a completely different world?
I actually think it could. I think that it should, especially right now as it's hard to hire recruiters. I think that if you find really driven, passionate people who have high potential, mold them into the recruiter that you want them to be, hire them right out of college, give them the tools that they need to be successful. It's really hard to hire a senior recruiter right now. I think Microsoft have the ability to make great recruiters. And I think recruiting leaders need to focus on that right now.
I believe you. I believe you. I'm thinking about, my early days as a recruiter and how much you learn. Like the first time I was asked by my manager to pick up the phone and call a candidate was, believe it or not, a very scary moment for me. But, now I wouldn't think about it twice, wouldn't bat an eyelid. Yeah. And you said you were working in the gaming space for a while. That's with Zynga?
So it was the Xbox teams, Zynga.
Xbox and then Zynga. And were you hiring some of the creatives on the gaming side?
I was game designers, artists, publishing folks, you name it. Also engineers, product managers, really whatever it takes to build a game, we were working on.
And do you find that it's a very different approach hiring these creatives and these designers than hiring, engineers, quality assurance people, and more, let's say, I'm thinking of it from a sort of right side versus left side brain people. Were there a separate recruitment team depending on the hemisphere of the brain that they were targeting?
Definitely. I think the approach obviously is very different. The way that you frame an opportunity has to be different for those types of folks. I think when you don't work in games, you're still dealing with creative people, UX designers, for instance. Those folks are interested in talking about different things about product design and development than an engineer would be. So I think you're always having to wear a lot of different hats talking to different people.
Yeah, we had somebody from the gaming industry before and said that it was a small world, that everybody, at the executive level, it was very much network based, but made a career out of it. But let's jump into Credit Karma, if you don't mind. I would love to see how things have evolved over the last, year and a half, which has been turbulent for most. And you were telling me before we got started that you were able to retain everybody on your team and everybody, all the Credit Karma employees. There was no layoff plans. And to ride the storm, how did you do that?
Well, I think Ken, the leadership team, Colleen, the head of people, they decided to prioritize people over profit. And they said, hey, we have really great people whose jobs are likely going to be affected. But we know they are smart, they are driven, and they have transferable skills. And we're going to find them roles in other teams and other departments where they can be, contributing to Credit Karma still. So some of us spent many weeks kind of being the internal matchmaker. So a new flavor of internal mobility, taking a look at what was needed in the business and who was on the bench and the recruiting team and some of the marketing teams as well. And it was an incredible experience. And I'm sure like you, a lot of us watched LinkedIn where companies, whether they were 100 people or 10,000 people, were laying off full recruiting teams. And we didn't do that. It felt really good to actually live values. I think some companies talk this talk and they're talking about the values that they live by and people first. And then when things get tough, that gets thrown out the window and money really is the motivator. And it just meant a lot to me and to the rest of us that Ken, Colleen, and the leadership team really decided to put people first.
Yay, Ken. Glad you could keep everybody. So was it bittersweet pushing out I know that's not the right way you want to phrase it, but selling your recruiters to other departments? And have you lost some of them permanently?
So I will say this, I laugh because I'm old, obviously. I just told you that I've been doing this for 25 years. A lot of the people on my team were early in career, mid-career, and I said to them, hey, this moment is why my dad has tried to get me out of recruiting since day one. There's not a better job to have than a recruiter when the economy is great, but like this moment is why. And so I said, I want you to take this opportunity to see if what role I put you in next could really be a career change for you. And I'll celebrate that, right? Like I love everyone on my team, but you might find that this new role is actually a better fit for you. And we did have some of those success stories. And I was super happy that I felt like, hey, I still really have my recruiter chops, right? I did a good match. I found this person a great role. A lot of folks did come back when we tapped them on the shoulder, but I was happy for that handful of people that stayed in engineering and marketing and product management.
Oh, you managed to put them in engineering and product roles. Though that's not a natural fit. I would think they're doing sales and marketing, but
Nope, test engineering, product management, like a true PM role. We have technical project managers. We have people who are growth marketing managers. Like it was across all functions.
fantastic. And those are positions that are in product that are very hard to fill. So kill two birds with one stone.
Yep, exactly.
And so what happened in talent acquisition now is we went from nobody, there are no jobs for recruiters to there are no recruiters in a matter of 6 to 8 months. I think it was an opportunity for a lot of companies to ask themselves, are we right staffed on talent acquisition? What can we automate? Were you able to automate a few things during this period to operate leaner?
Well, I would say that we definitely implemented quite a few new technologies into our systems. I'd say tech hits every step of our process from, the job description generation all the way down to the offer accept. So yeah, we were able to really look at how we were operating in every step of our process and say, how can we do this better? How can we make this faster? How can we take the people hours out of this? So I was really happy with the tools that we decided to implement and how the rollout's been going.
I don't know if you went to this level of automation, but we've seen some of our customers go basically all the way to offer letter without an interview. Scary a little bit, I'd say, but it would have been a joke 3-4 years ago. Like a gimmick, but they've rolled it out effectively with, language, communication screening, automated, and, plugging in a few different solutions as part of the process. And basically the human touch is only at the very end just to say congrats. Yeah. But
we are to that, not going that direction, but that is impressive that they could do that.
No, it's scary, but it's for a different kind of industry. It's for really, really high speed, high churn kind of positions. Yeah. Okay. And then you created a new role at Credit Karma, the head of talent enablement. So we're always looking for new ways to name all things, to reinvent ourselves. And so what are you reinventing with the talent enablement, or is this brand new?
I would say that it is an operations function on steroids. I would really make an analogy of it's the air traffic controller of talent. That's really it's building the connectivity between all of the pieces and functions that are involved in hiring and onboarding someone. And it's really important to us, right? Like we have such an incredible culture at Credit Karma. We want to ensure that we are able to run faster than we have been, scale quicker than we have been in terms of hiring, but not lose any of the connectivity between the experience and the teams that contribute to that experience. So that's kind of the core of what enablement will handle.
Could you illustrate that for me? Like when you're talking about speeding up onboarding, are we talking about basically workflow automation with certain tasks that get assigned automatically, these kinds of tools?
Yeah, so right now, this team has built over 50 dashboards that are self-service dashboards for different partners in the business to understand all of what is happening in recruiting. It models out what we're doing, what future state will look like in terms of everything from top of the funnel metrics down to dashboards that enable IT to ensure that they're procuring the right amount of equipment for people. So it's really like taking all of the data from all of our systems and putting it in one spot so that we are making sure that people have the information that they need in order to do their job faster.
Okay. Is there one tool? It sounds like, that's a big project, 50 dashboards connecting with different parts of the operation. Is there a recommendation you can share on a tool that is a central part of this strategy? Are you using Tableau or Power BI, for instance, or is there some tech recommendation?
Yeah, so we are using the data tool in G Suite. We're a G Suite company. And so that is essentially pulling out of Greenhouse, out of Workday, serving into that. It's been a game changer, I think, for us. And the head of talent enablement, he's kind of a wizard with building the data dashboards. We talk about what would be best to serve up in terms of insights, and he's able to kind of magically create all of these things quickly.
So another name for this head of talent enablement could be talent analytics.
Part of that, yes. Talent analytics. He also owns operations, as I said.
And
so
operations.
All of this, the coordination team, he actually will be building a research team underneath him to do a lot of insights and building so we can go to our managers with really clear expectations on what talent pools look like, what they can expect geography to geography and in terms of seniority. So really anything that can help us do things better and make things go faster, head of enablement will own all of that. And it doesn't stop there, right? So it's training and development, really build and deliver not just team-based training, but personal training. We have an entire professional development plan where we get $5,000 a year to help you learn and invest back in your careers. So, tap into that, align programs and projects across all of talent, all the way from brand, referrals, mobility, DEI, you name it. And then, of course, he and his team are the HRBP whisperers, is what I call them, right? So they're making sure that we know how to interpret organizational needs into org design, and then how do we go find those people to fill the org design?
It sounds like a very cerebral role that maybe is not what somebody had in mind when they came into recruitment in the early days. But
no, for sure.
That is where it's going, for sure. Keeping recruiters on their toes and adapting to really, become tech masters in different domains, connecting all these dashboards, like you said, very challenging. But the core of recruitment, still dealing with people and sometimes following our instincts instead of our cerebral, instead of the gray matter. And those instincts can lead us astray. I like to ask most of the guests on my show if they can tell us about a recruitment mistake that they've made in the past without naming anyone, so that we can learn from that mistake and try to avoid making the same one again.
Okay, I'll have to think about this.
Doesn't have to be
I've
Credit
made
Karma.
so many, I'm just trying to choose the right one, right? It's not that I haven't made any, I've made so many, I want to make sure the one I choose is good. I think I pride myself now on being very detail oriented, and that is because of a few snafus in the past, right? And I don't know if it was this one moment, but I do remember pacing on the phone in my daughter's bedroom for whatever reason, and I was talking through an offer with the candidate, listening obviously about kind of what was still one of their objections or whatnot, and giving them the numbers, and looking at my computer while also pacing is not a good idea. And I looked at the wrong offer numbers and gave incorrect compensation information. And it would have been fine if that number had been lower than the real number, but it was not, of course, because the universe would never let that happen. But I think my snafu and my learning is to tell everyone, just pay attention, don't pace, don't walk around, like make sure you've got the right numbers in front of you, be detail oriented. Like that's we're people in people business. We talk a lot, it's a lot of conversation, it's a lot of relationship building, but at the end of the day, the details do count.
So important. Yeah. You get a little confidence, you hire, 10 people in a month, and then you think you can do that in your sleep between two meetings. And no, that's when mistakes happen. It's a very good reminder that, overconfidence can breed complacency, and that could drive terrible mistakes.
Terrible.
Stay on your toes, folks. Thank you very much, Ashleigh, for coming to share. And I'd like to ask if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way? Or if they want to look at jobs at Credit Karma, I suppose.
Yeah, just hit me up on LinkedIn, send me a message. I'm happy to answer any questions. And creditkarma.com/careers. We're hiring anything and everything that has to do with product development in the tech sector, all the way from member support to machine learning engineers. What I can say about Credit Karma is we do, as I alluded to, have this incredible culture where we do put people first. We are on a mission to help our 110 plus million members, enable them to find financial progress. So it's a great mission, and we're a great company.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashleigh.
That was Ashleigh Anderson from Credit Karma, reminding us, if need be, that recruiters are a great talent pool for other departments That's what Credit Karma did when they had a hiring freeze. She helped to repurpose and redirect some of the people in her team to other departments, and they're still working there. It was a success. So maybe inspiration for when the next recession comes along, hopefully in a few years, not too soon. Hope you enjoyed it, and that you'll be back for more. Remember to subscribe if you did.